From July 25th to 26th, 1944, in Nazi-controlled Poland, a figure dashes through a shadowy meadow, clutching a briefcase that holds Hitler's greatest hidden asset. Trailing him, 4 more individuals hurry in the blackness, each holding their own briefcases, 19 in all. These contain components of a V-2 rocket, the device engineered to devastate London. In front lies a British Dakota aircraft positioned on an improvised runway, its motors humming steadily. The lead figure is Jerzy Chmielewski, whose codename is Raphael, an intelligence operative with the Polish Home Army. Over the past 8 months, countless individuals had staked their lives on this operation. Rural workers concealed pieces amid potato piles. Mechanics toiled under flickering candle flames as Gestapo agents scoured the area overhead. Guerrilla fighters sacrificed themselves to stage distractions. Jerzy arrives at the aircraft, passing over his briefcase. The rest do the same. The group climbs aboard. The hatch closes tight. Encircling the site, 200 Polish combatants observe from the shadows. The closest German outpost stands 10 kilometers to the west. The aviator advances the throttles. The motors thunder. The aircraft starts to taxi, then halts abruptly. Its tires are embedded firmly in the muck. He attempts it once more, applying maximum thrust. The Dakota vibrates intensely, yet remains immobile. Sunrise looms just 90 minutes off. Guidelines are explicit. Should takeoff prove impossible, destroy it all. The aircraft, the components, the intelligence. Jerzy glances toward the east. The heavens remain pitch dark. 8 months of meticulous preparation. Scores of lives imperiled by threat of death. Many who perished. Everything on the verge of collapse due to sludge, simply because an airplane bogged down in a Polish meadow. Yet daylight approaches. And without these briefcases making it to London, the sacrifices of hundreds of Poles amount to futility. Thousands more British non-combatants will fall victim to an unstoppable armament. But what renders this device so lethal? And why did Hitler label it the war's game-changer? In London on June 13th, 1944, 6 weeks prior, an immense blast rips apart a serene neighborhood in South London at 4 a.m. 6 fatalities, 30 injuries. No alerts from air raid warnings. No alerts, no hum of incoming planes, merely an abrupt, ruinous detonation emerging from thin air. This marks Britain's initial brush with the V-1 flying bomb, Hitler's reprisal tool. Yet British spies sense an even graver threat on the horizon. The V-1 serves merely as a harbinger for the V-2, a missile that outpaces the speed of sound. It offers zero alert. No flak battery can target it. No pursuit aircraft can engage it. It's a harbinger of tomorrow's warfare. When Werner von Braun demonstrated the V-2 firing via color footage to Hitler, the Führer leaped up and gripped von Braun's hand in wild enthusiasm. Hitler proclaimed, "British researchers remain clueless about its mechanics. Absent are images, schematics, seized prototypes, only alarming dispatches from operatives throughout Nazi-held Europe. Missiles soaring 14 meters high, tipping the scales at 12 tons, loaded with 1 ton of munitions, fired from portable launchers that relocate and vanish in mere hours, rendering defense futile." General Dwight Eisenhower would later note in his recollections that earlier and more extensive V-2 use by the Germans might have rendered the D-Day assault profoundly challenging, possibly unfeasible. London stands exposed. Thousands of ordinary people face death unless experts unravel its operations. Guidance systems, propulsion, vulnerabilities. The British War Council grows frantic. They require a V-2 rocket, or fragments thereof, but extracting a classified Nazi superweapon from the Reich's core? The resolution to that puzzle rests currently in 19 briefcases stranded in a Polish meadow beside an aircraft mired in the mire. Sunrise nears in 80 minutes. The aviator makes another push, slamming the throttles to the limit. The Dakota quakes fiercely but fails to budge. Jersey and the team leap into the night. They begin stripping the load, briefcases foremost, followed by travelers, spare fuel drums, provisions, any excess mass. Now the plane rides higher, vacant yet still trapped. Bordering the airstrip, 200 Polish Home Army members stand vigil in quiet tension. Mere presence here invites capital punishment. Each ticking second heightens the peril. A helper fetches straw from a close-by stable. They cram it beneath the tires, forming an impromptu base. The aviator returns to the controls, shoves the levers ahead. The motors bellow. The craft sways, inches ahead by 6, perhaps 8. Optimism surges. It could succeed. But then the tires burrow further. The plane grinds to a halt in the sludge. 10 kilometers westward, a German SS base slumbers. More than 200 troops, protected transports, communication gear. Should the engine din alert anyone? Should a sentry probe the racket? Should a nearby informant flag odd goings-on? The enemy will swarm in 15 minutes. The Gestapo's search has shifted beyond just rooting out partisans. For several weeks, they've been on the trail of something particular. Reports from intelligence indicate that the Poles are scheming a major operation, one tied to the V2 initiative. The Germans aren't sure of the details, but they're on high alert, biding their time. Jersey remains beside the luggage, gazing at the grounded aircraft. 8 months of effort unraveling due to the rain-soaked soil and slick terrain. Captain Cabot draws near without a sound. We might have only an hour left under cover of night. Beyond that, if the plane refuses to budge, they'll be forced to torch it all and flee. Yet as these fighters scramble desperately to extract the aircraft from the Polish mire, consider the true story unfolding. A clandestine group in Nazi-controlled Poland managed to seize components from Germany's ultra-secret wonder weapon, break them down, snap photos, study them closely, and smuggle them nationwide. All right under the Gestapo's watchful eyes. How could such a feat even occur? And what kind of mind would orchestrate this audacious scheme? Warsaw, November 1943. 8 months prior, amid the savage grip of Nazi rule in the city, a covert gathering unfolds in the cellar of a ruined church. The individuals assembled embody the Armia Krajowa, the Polish Home Army, Europe's biggest underground force against the occupiers, boasting more than 400,000 fighters. A shadow government thriving in secrecy. Clandestine tribunals, hidden classrooms, illicit presses. A whole populace determined to endure. They've already pulled off feats others deemed out of reach. Polish codebreakers deciphered Enigma well before the conflict erupted and passed the breakthrough to the Brits. Polish operatives slipped into the Nazi lab at Peenemünde, delivering intel that sparked the RAF's devastating raid there in August 1943. Now, MI6 dispatches a pressing directive. The Nazis have shifted their missile efforts to some spot in Poland. Track it down. The operative tapped to head this endeavor lurks silently in the shadows. Jerzy Chmielewski, alias Raphael, 30 years of age, with an everyday look that blends into crowds without drawing notice. Yet he harbors a singular gift, an eidetic recall. Display a blueprint to him once, and he could sketch it anew from pure memory long afterward. Ideal for spycraft. Less so for someone doomed to eternally relive the horrors ahead. His directives boil down to basics. Pinpoint the fresh German launch site, monitor their operations, and gather whatever data you can on this novel armaments project. No backing, no funds, no gear. Just a pseudonym and a task that risks slaughtering droves. Jersey begins assembling his cell. Not through warriors, but everyday folk. Educators, growers, technicians, signal experts, people with loved ones and stakes sky high. He enlists them with stark truth. Should the Germans master this arsenal, victory slips away forever. A few turn him down, yet the majority commit. Not chasing fame or coin, but after seeing their homeland torched. Inaction strikes them as a drawn-out demise. Come December 1943, Jersey's web stretches across scores in Poland's heartland. Cultivators scanning the heavens. Rail crews noting odd freight loads. Woodsmen versed in every path amid the trees. All poised, vigilant. Then come early 1944, discovery strikes. A site named Blizna. Once an SS drill camp in Poland's southeast, now ringed by razor wire and stiff defenses. Missiles fire from its bounds. Thunderous blasts reverberate across the fields every couple of days. The Nazis evacuate whole hamlets, forging a vast death perimeter. Sentries and towers, roving guards, fire at will commands. Jersey's crew observes from afar as launches streak skyward repeatedly. The strategy's straightforward. Bide for mishaps. Snatch the debris prior to Nazi recovery squads. In reality, near suicidal. Until one afternoon, fate pivots. May 20th, 1944. A V-2 blasts off from Blizna, fails in ascent, and plummets into wetlands by the Bug River. No detonation. This marks their window. The sole opportunity. May 20th, 1944. Bug River swamps. Resistance operatives reach the wreck ahead of the Wehrmacht hunters. They spot it mired halfway in sludge. 14 meters of steel, 12 tons, utterly whole. The Reich's pinnacle weaponry. Lodged in a bog, they act swiftly. Drape the missile with reeds and foliage, shielding it from flyover scans. Over 7 days, Luftwaffe craft buzz above. Foot soldiers scour the zone. The Poles hunker down, concealed, as the foe prowls mere paces from their trove. At last, the Germans call off the hunt. Figured it blew apart and dispersed. The instant the sweeps depart, the Poles spring into action. Troops from the 22nd Home Army Infantry Regiment drag the rocket to a shed in the hamlet of Hutachaibi. Specialists rush in from Warsaw. Antonio Kochin and Professor Groskowski. The experts toiling by the dim flicker of candle flames, even as the Gestapo scours the area overhead, begin the painstaking disassembly of all 25,000 components. They snap photos of each piece, examine the propellant, liquid oxygen, and scrutinize the radio-guided control mechanism. They chart the payload too, a warhead packed with 1 ton of high explosives. The most vital 50 kilograms get stowed into 19 suitcases. Janpara hauls them onto his wagon, buries them beneath a layer of potatoes, and slips past Nazi roadblocks. Jan Leovich conceals the load in his outbuilding. Jerzy Cham compiles a 200-page dossier, committing every engineering nuance to memory in the event the papers vanish. Over the next 2 months, this team shuttles the cases through Nazi-held Poland, shifting from settlement to settlement, shelter to shelter, perpetually dodging Gestapo sweeps, until at last, on July 25th, they arrive at the airstrip. The RAF aircraft touches down. They cram everything inside, only to find themselves mired right back here in the muck. The aviator yells out his final frantic suggestion. Grab planks, timber slabs, any sturdy material to shove beneath the tires for grip. Sunrise looms just 40 minutes off. That's 40 minutes to yank a packed plane from thick sludge, 40 minutes before detection, before Nazi search teams close in, before 200 Polish guerrillas and their British handlers stare down the firing squad. No reinforcements, no fallback strategy, Only slime, shadows, and a ticking clock. How does one compel an airplane to budge with under an hour to pull it off, or risk the Wehrmacht's grasp? Now it's 33 minutes to daybreak. Resistance fighters bolt into the night, racing to outlying homesteads. No time for courtesy. They wrench boards from stable sides, yank stakes from fences, break down whatever can support strain. Locals peer from doorways, yet remain mute. They grasp the peril involved. Soon enough, the group returns lugging stacks of lumber, panels, struts, posts, slats. They position the boards ahead of the tires, forming an improvised path over the mire. Meanwhile, some excavate furrows in front, tilting the terrain to generate forward thrust. It's rough-hewn, born of sheer urgency, yet it could succeed. The flyer issues yet another bold call. Have the team slice the brake cables. Should the system be jammed, snipping the hydraulics could release it. The second in command, Casimir Surassier, a Polish flyer with more than 20 combat sorties under his belt, slides beneath the belly armed with a blade. He slashes. Brake oil erupts onto the slop. Sure, if they make it out of Poland, touching down in Italy means no stopping power, but that's tomorrow's worry. For the instant, motion is everything. The travelers and flight staff reboard. The luggage gets secured once more. Jerzy clutches his valise on his knees, fingers bleached from the vice-like hold. Across the meadow, the fighters form a perimeter. A few guard the westward approach, eyes peeled for enemy units. The rest probe the tree-line shadows. Should the SS show up at this moment, a battle erupts. Come takeoff time, many in the group will perish, though the objective might endure. Captain Cabot glances at his timepiece. 4:02 a.m. 28 minutes remain. The sky to the east has shifted from pitch to deep indigo, the earliest whisper of light. The captain wastes no time. He slams both levers to full thrust. The props howl. The whole machine vibrates. The landing gear bears down on the timber. 3 seconds pass in stasis. Then a twitch. He maintains the power. The wood groans and splinters but endures. The Dakota surges ahead. 1 meter, 2, then 5. It's advancing, truly gaining velocity over the jury-rigged surface. The ad hoc lumber ends abruptly. The craft plows into soft earth anew, but momentum carries it. The props dig in, wheels submerge, yet it rolls on. With throttles wide open, the aircraft picks up pace. Jerzy senses the shift. The jolts cease. The front rises. They're off the surface, skimming just above the field's distant copse. The Dakota ascends into the twilit heavens, swaying from the overload, with hydraulic leaks trailing from the ruined brakes. But it's aloft. The 200 guerrillas below gaze as it fades southward. They linger wordlessly, aware they've beheld a marvel. Captain Cabot commands dispersal. Smudge the trails, enter the boards, wipe every trace. In 20 minutes, the site appears barren and untouched. When Wehrmacht scouts roll up an hour hence, chasing rumors of plane noise, they discover zilch. Yet high over subjugated Europe, that RAF bird bears the Führer's prime enigma toward friendly lines. One crucial detail to grasp, though. In the frenzy of getaway, the co-pilot wrecked the brakes entirely. No backups left. Soaring above enemy domain, this Dakota has zero stopping mechanism. When they hit Italy, if they do, it'll be a wheels-down barrel at top velocity, brakes or no. The quagmire was merely the opening hurdle. Now the aircraft hurtles toward a far more perilous challenge. Is it possible to set down an airplane minus its braking system? And the consequences if it fails? At 7:23 a.m. over Hungary, the Dakota skims low to evade detection. Beneath them stretches Nazi-held ground, studded with fuel storage sites, coiled Luftwaffe bases, and flak emplacements. A single misstep could mean getting blasted from the sky. In the cabin up front, the team confronts fresh trouble. The hydraulics have run dry, not only affecting the brakes, but also preventing the landing gear from folding up correctly. The struts dangle halfway out, increasing resistance and guzzling more fuel. The engineer gets creative, dumping any available liquids into the tank. Water, even tea from a flask, blending substances that were never designed to mix. It's a desperate gamble, bound to fail. Yet after 60 minutes, the gear manages to pull in. Back in the hold, Jersey grips his valise tightly. Within it lies the V2's control mechanism, the war's supreme intel prize. He hasn't released it since leaving Warsaw. Surrounding him, the fellow travelers remain hushed. They're aware of the ordeal ahead. 5 hours skimming hostile lands, followed by a touchdown sans brakes. Up front, Flight Lieutenant Colliford plots their vector toward Brindisi, Italy, under Allied command. But the primary strip is too brief for a break-free arrival. They'd plow past it, smash, and ignite. Air traffic guides them to a backup path instead, extended and dusted with grit for better grip. It's their sole chance. By 11:47 a.m., the Dakota nears Brindisi. The flyer signals forward, brakes out, urgent touchdown. On the ground, personnel rush into action. Fire rigs line the tarmac. Medical teams brace nearby. The craft dips, connects with the pavement. Tires strike concrete, and the machine surges onward unabated, nothing to halt the momentum. The aviator throttles back, hoping propeller slip will help decelerate. It falls short. The vessel charges into the sandy extension, encounters the drag. At last, resistance bites. The Dakota decelerates, halts. Just 20 meters shy of the runway's edge. 20 meters from catastrophe. The hatch swings wide. Jersey emerges, case secured. Royal officers stand expectant on the apron. He advances but halts short. Jersey won't surrender the baggage to these Brits. He insists on delivering it solely to Colonel Protasevich, his immediate chief. Once the colonel shows up, Jersey passes over the load and slumps into a seat. The 19 cases get unpacked. Revealed, steering apparatuses, propellant nozzles, monitoring gear, payload fragments, intricate blueprints of every one of the 25,000 components, snapshots, lab breakdowns, a 200-page dossier. Precisely what UK experts crave. The components arrive in London soon after. Empire technicians learn the V2 relies on radio signals, opening the door to interference. They deploy jammers up and down the shoreline. As the Reich unleashes its V2 barrage in September 1944, scores of missiles veer off into the North Sea. Countless lives preserved. The bulk of those 200 resistance fighters who secured that sodden patch never learned of the operation's triumph. Numerous fell to Soviet purges post-war, yet they pulled it off. 8 months, countless souls involved, scores lost, all for 19 cases that altered the conflict's course. At times, the unattainable merely demands a bit more time.